When you're feeling disconnected from your partner, it can feel like a very abstract and nebulous experience and may be difficult to see why it's happening, but there are actually a lot of interesting factors at play here. You can start to feel disconnected from your partner over time if a lot of the following things are happening to you. So if you find yourself at a lack of rituals, if you don't have like a good morning or a goodbye or a we're going to sleep now ritual, even if it's something small like saying goodbye with a hug and a kiss or having your morning coffee together, you can start to feel like you're two ships passing in the night, especially, and this is another thing that can make you feel disconnected, if your schedules are extremely different. If you're waking up and going to bed at different times, if you're eating at different times, those are the moments where you kind of come together, touch base, and then go back to what you were doing that day, go about your lives. And if you're doing very different things, there may be no synchronization. There may be no opportunity to kind of meet up in the middle. If you aren't carving out special time, like intentional, special, just for us time, that will start to make your partner feel deprioritized. If you are pouring yourself into other projects, work, other friendships, your family, and it's okay to have a lot going on in your life. I mean, don't we all? But if you are not carving out time or attention for your partner away from all the other clutter, all the other things going on in your life, they might start to feel like an unimportant person to you. If they are not emotionally present for you, if they aren't there for you, let's say you're going through some hard times and you really need to talk about it with your partner and kind of get their support, but they just have so much else going on, or they have a lot of excuses, or they just seem unwilling, then that can really make you feel disconnected from them. If you end up leaning on others, like friends or family, to get all or most of your emotional needs met, then there's very little else left for your partner to do. And maybe you're feeling a little abandoned if they haven't been keeping up with your emotional needs, and you process your difficulties and your problems with your friends. But when it comes to spending time with your partner, you find yourself not talking about the difficult things you're working through at the time, then they don't have that insight into your life, that intimate look into what's really going on beneath the surface inside of you. So sharing your difficulties with them, and in turn, when your partner comes to you, being open to receiving their difficulties, helping them process, giving them support, that will make you feel closer. If you've been overscheduling yourself or having too many outside obligations in your life, such that the time you spend with your partner is slowly like whittled away over time, if stress is creeping in, if you're allowing it to interfere with the health of your relationship, then that can start to make you feel disconnected. If there's very little positive experiences with them anymore and just a lot of constant stress and processing or disconnect, like, oh, I'm really stressed with work, like I can't engage you right now, I can't be present for you right now. If you have a lot of unaddressed issues between you, that can also increase disconnection. For example, if you have a lack of conflict, if you haven't had a fight with your partner in a long time, and you feel simultaneously a lot of things building up, dissatisfaction or things that have been bothering you, that bottling up or sweeping it under the rug doesn't make it go away. It in fact creates pressure and tension and an internal festering. This becomes a darkness. The mess becomes more complicated, so that by the time you burst and let it out and start talking about it with your partner, it's gotten real ugly inside of you and probably very convoluted, and they have missed opportunities to make things better over time. So addressing issues as soon as possible is crucial. And if you haven't been addressing issues, if there are things you're unhappy about that you've been keeping to yourself or hiding for whatever reason, then the lack of conflict is actually a bad sign. If you're like, oh, we never fight, but it's because you don't bring up the things that might cause a fight, then you're not really engaging and working through the difficulties and smoothing out the rough edges of your relationship as it goes forward. You're just avoiding them. So a lack of conflict isn't necessarily a sign of a healthy relationship or a good thing in this case. It can increase the disconnect. If you find yourself doing any of the four following things: criticism, contempt, stonewalling, aka the silent treatment, or defensiveness, those four things in a relationship are like the death knell. They're like the four horsemen of the apocalypse. If those are very present in your relationship and they keep coming up a lot, that's a sign that you have some very deep and large issues that need addressing as soon as possible, because they're going to become way more difficult in the future to deal with, and they may end your relationship prematurely. So what to do? If you're feeling disconnected from your partner and any or all of those things I just mentioned have been adding up, or things have been bottled up between you, and you just feel further and further apart, like you're not seeing each other's souls, you're not engaging in an intimate and vulnerable way, then there are things you can do. You can have a talk. And I know you don't need to make it a super big deal. It doesn't have to be really heavy. It doesn't have to end in an argument. In fact, when you feel disconnected from your partner, it's actually a sign, it's an invitation to go deeper. So take a look at this talk and think about how you might want it to go in your head ahead of time, and imagine it going well. First of all, what is your desired outcome from this talk? Sure, better connection, a sense of connectedness in the relationship. But what does that look like to you? It looks like something different for everyone. So getting clear on what it is that you want out of this is going to be very helpful, so that when you bring it to your partner, you have a little bit of a solution in mind, or at least words to describe what you've been feeling and why. So schedule it conscientiously, or bring it up at a time where you are being aware of where your partner's at in terms, like, emotionally, energetically. Have they eaten and slept lately? Make sure that they're in a space where they're willing and able to have a productive conversation with you and to work through some feelings that might actually be difficult. Don't shy away from discomfort in this conversation. Overcoming obstacles together in a relationship will make you feel closer together. So just having this talk in and of itself, let alone what kind of actions you choose to do afterwards, is going to really bring you much closer together if you don't shy away from it. So be ready to be raw and open and vulnerable and honest about what's going on with you, and invite your partner in to do the same with you. And working through that difficulty, when you come out the other side, it's like, wow, you can feel much closer. The hug you have after that might feel a lot more meaningful. Try to have the conversation using nonviolent communication. This is a thing I covered in a recent episode of the podcast. But basically, you're going to state your observation, like, here's what I've been noticing, without judgment, without criticism, but just here's my lived experience, my truth. Then talk about the feelings that came up in you because of the things that happened. Like, here's how I feel about these things I just said, I observed or noticed. And speak your feelings, bare your heart. Then talk about what need wasn't met. Maybe your need for attention, your need for connectiveness, your need for closeness, your need for emotional intimacy, your need for reciprocity. It can be any of these things. Then make a request. Talk about what you want from your partner in terms of, here's how I'd like a solution to look. Here's a behavior I would like you to do. Then get curious. Ask your partner what has been going on for them. Ask them about their experience and their feelings surrounding the topic that you've just been sharing about yourself. So you share yours, you listen to them, be receptive, be open-minded, ask a lot of questions, see if they've been feeling the same way. And if they have, it's like, well, that's great that we at least acknowledge it, because now we can make a team effort to solve the problem together and help each other feel more connected. Start talking about what is an action plan that you can do? What might it look like? What things have you done in the past that brought you together? Is it listening to a certain kind of music? Is it going to a certain restaurant? Is it sharing in a specific artistic outlet, or playing a sport or an activity together, or traveling together? It could be anything, but think about those moments in your past where, like, wow, I felt just so close after that experience with my partner. Tap into that, see how you can weave it into your life now. Yes, you might be busy, but your relationship is important to you, right? So it's worth prioritizing and making sure with intention that you're spending more quality time, intentional time, without distractions, without the weight of other difficult things in your lives together. I would also recommend pursuing novelty, pursuing a little bit of danger. This can be anything as extreme as like bungee jumping to getting lost in a town you've never been in together, taking some kind of challenge together. Anything that's new and different stimulates the release of dopamine, which allows you to feel more bonded together after the experience. Same with comedy. Go see a show together or watch some comedy online and laugh together. Laughing at the same thing together is an extremely bonding experience. You might feel very close after that. Take a look at the way you have constructed your relationship, what things bring you together, and try to build a culture of respect and admiration. Ask yourself, what are the things that I really appreciate about my partner, and start to notice them more often, and then vocalize your appreciation. Let your partner know that, hey, I see you, and that thing about you, I love that you do that. And expressing that gratitude will help them feel seen and appreciated in turn, and they will be more likely to reflect it back at you. And this just is a self-perpetuating cycle to improve closeness. Show commitment and take responsibility to contribute to the positive change you want to see in your relationship. Make an effort through your actions and your words, and you will probably experience much more closeness.